Industry Champions. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and joining me here in the studio is Caleb Garrett with the Coggin College of Business at University of North Florida.
All right.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, man. Yeah, definitely. Appreciate you having me. Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. So take two.
Yeah.
But we want, our last segment, we talked specifically about University of North Florida from like I'll say a higher, more strategic level. Yeah. But now we want to kind of dive into the Coggin, College of Business. So
yeah.
What is the Coggin College of Business? How did it evolve? What is it now, and where is it going in the future?
Yeah, so naturally there's going to be some overlap, because when we think about us as a college, we want to align with whatever the strategic direction of the university is. Yeah. But when I think about what we're doing now at the college, definitely experiential learning, some of those things that we're doing at UNF as a whole are important. But how do they play out in each of our kind of majors or areas? Yeah. And one of the big ones lately is fintech. So new fintech programming we have going on. You can imagine the last few finance faculty members we've hired, they all have interest in Python and interest in technology. It's just kind of a different world a little bit, where if you're working in the finance space, you have your hat or technology hat on too. Right. So we're talking with a few companies right now about doing like senior projects in fintech. Okay. So similar to the experiential learning broad initiative at UNF. At Coggin, we're looking to engage with companies, and the language we always use is projects that are important but not urgent. Yeah. So there are things that companies they're in the back of everyone's mind. No one has time to get to. Right. Well, how about we have some students noodle on some of those ideas a little bit, and it's cool to see. I've seen a lot in our School of Engineering and our marketing program. They all do similar kind of projects with companies, and it's cool what just a fresh perspective can bring, especially when I think about fintech and maybe a more emerging industry, emerging area that maybe some companies aren't, studied up on certain aspects, or that fresh knowledge and fresh perspective from students.
Especially for like a large institution, right? Sometimes these large institutions are more like driving the Titanic versus speedboat.
Yes.
But I was at a recent pitch event here in the city, and you notice some of they weren't all younger, but it was a couple of companies, but the creators were younger folks, so they've had time on their hands, a little bit more nimble, both in thought and in skills, and these guys came in with some great ideas. So I think you're right. I think there's institutionally, there's the day-to-day, especially you're in the finance industry or medical industry or something else. You're kind of working these top three priorities, and these other things fall below the radar. But you may miss the fact there's some new capability or ideas being worked on outside with some younger folks that could be implemented. It could be game changers in many cases.
No, exactly. So it's a big win for the company, but then it's a huge win for students.
Oh yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's a 6-month maybe internship essentially that they get to have, where they're working with companies, gaining valuable experience. Yeah. A lot of our students in the past, I don't know how accurate this is, but it used to be that 60% of UNF students worked at least 20 hours a week.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of the profile of a UNF student is often, gritty, working part-time, driven, I think, from what I've seen. So to give students sometimes who may not have time for a 40-hour a week or internship,
right.
But to give them that tangible experience is really valuable too.
Yeah. To me, that's almost like a handshake between industry, our businesses, and then our academia, where it's like, okay, they see the value and vice versa, and then there's this iterative loop between this is what we need, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're working on, and go back and forth. And no doubt they're hunting talent too. They're going,
it's a semester
Caleb,
long.
You did an internship.
It's a job interview. Yeah, semester-long job interview.
Right.
No, so you see that a lot, where students will work with a company, and their HR will get wind of, hey, we got to get this kid, so definitely.
It's funny. I was listening to a podcast in the gym last week, and they were I won't mention the name of the podcast, but they were talking about a number of things. And one statistic they were saying 63% of current employers will not hire somebody coming out of college, coming out of this graduating class. The indictment was the fact they felt that they weren't ready for the workforce, those students.
Wow, interesting.
Which is kind of interesting based on our conversation, where you have a high retention rate of UNF students staying in Northeast Florida, Southeast Georgia, but also the impact, because I can imagine with this handshake between industry and academia, that you got better retention because there's been each side has seen each other and going, okay, I understand the work, I understand the worker I'm getting. So,
yeah. No, that's really interesting to hear. And yeah, if that's your thoughts as a company.
It was all about the soft skills.
Okay,
Working on a team, being a team member, giving value. So.
But man, I feel like I see so many companies now who are, or if they're not kind of building that bench, you hear of companies that are coming to you and they're like, oh, we need some junior people. Yeah. I know a couple of construction and engineering firms that I don't know I think you can Google it, but how many registered like surveyors they are in the state of Florida?
Oh, really?
It's a very small number,
okay.
and they're all over 55.
Oh, really?
But you don't quote me on that completely. But from what I've heard from people in the construction industry, because there are just some industries where, they haven't built a bench, and now there's kind of this scramble to catch up because there's still a lot of growth, and the industry needs some of these positions filled.
It's interesting because that is an area, which is funny because I was just driving by some surveys guys today, and there was a couple young folks you can tell, but most of them are probably 50 and older. But you're right. I think there's certain industries, especially in a niche, where you might have an aging population. I mean, they talk about with pilots all the time.
Yeah.
I was recently flying to Kansas City and back over this last week, and part of the conversation with a pilot that was just basically going back to where his home station is was talking about these conversations. Do we keep moving the age of pilots for mandatory retirement older? And he's like, no, there's a reason why you need to retire by a certain age for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So he thinks that he was against it, but it's kind of interesting that you see this in different industries.
In our in the College of Business, obviously accounting is a big thing. So they desperate right now for more accountants.
Okay.
Large firms, companies.
Yeah.
So they're changing the requirements for a CPA.
Oh. Okay.
Where you used to have to do kind of post back. I think it's 150 hours what you had to do of the education. Well, now you can do it in a bachelor's degree, 120.
Oh.
So they're going to lower that because they need more people. So lots of industries like that. So if you're part of a company that doesn't want to hire fresh grads, careful because you might be playing catch up later. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's interesting.
So Caleb, how do folks find you and how they find the Coggin College of Business at UNF?
Yeah, so unf.edu. I don't know if it's /Coggin, but if you fish around there, you can find the Coggin College.
Google it.
Yeah, you can Google it. Yeah. And then of course, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on the website there, on our Coggin College of Business website. Company or anyone interested in kind of getting engaged with what we're doing at UNF, easy to find me.
Well, I appreciate it. And congratulations again on being selected for 40 under 40.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. How old are you now?
34.
All right, good.
Yeah.
You made the cut.
I did, yeah.
Congratulations on that, and thanks for what you're doing over at UNF. And I'm glad you came in and talked to us about what is happening in a great college here in the city of Jacksonville on Industry Champions.
Appreciate it, Chris.
All right, folks, connect with Caleb and I on LinkedIn. We'd love to, anything that's missing or some questions you may have, DM us. Take a look at the College of Business at UNF if you have any interest. And we'll see our next segment. Live with gratitude.